Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. The true altcoin market cap is set to hit a new all-time high, and if you include stablecoins, it has already hit a new all-time high. The rest of the markets around the globe are also hitting new all-time highs, but is there a cause for concern, some sort of correction coming up in the near term? That's the discussion in today's video, along with the tipping point that happens once every 4 years. Make sure you hit the subscribe button as each of the day's analysis builds upon the previous day here at your home of macro cycle analysis with me, Jason Pizzino. We're covering Bitcoin, cryptos, the stock markets, and the real estate cycle. Heaps to get through today, so make sure you click the buttons. Links in the top of the video description for Black Friday specials with SwiftX for you guys in Australia for all your altcoin trading, and around the globe, Bybit and Bluffin, no KYC over there if you're looking for an exchange that does no KYC. All right, guys, let's kick it off. It is now coming up to 2 years since our friend Michael Burry said to sell the stock market. Guess what the stock market did in that time? It did 50%. There is the sell tweet. Here is the current day's action. New all-time high yesterday. And from that point, from that sell tweet, Burry missed out on the 50%. I know it's probably a little bit of a dig there because yes, traders can change their mind, and I believe he changed his mind very quickly after that point and got on with the market. But you can see how these markets build up over time to keep hitting new all-time highs when it seems absolutely ridiculous to get to new all-time highs time and time again. Now, in yesterday's video, looking at the December analysis, then flowing into the quarter one of 2025, I looked at the possibility of the S&P 500 filling in the volume of the price action here. So that goes back to roughly around the 25th of November. So at some point, I think the price will come back into that area, but it's not really that much considering where we are. Now, if the market did pop off and then pull back, that's probably going to be a little bit more scary for the market participants. When I say scary, I mean the volatility sparks a lot of emotions at that point. Big volatile move up, big volatile move back down, but we'll let that all play out. What we're focused on is the longer term outlook, our weeklies, our monthlies, our quarterly charts. Yes, we've been hitting new all-time highs, but the swings are still up. Look at the yellow line. We're just looking at where the lows are forming, and they keep putting in higher and higher lows in the face of all of the bad news. So basically our day-to-day update for the S&P 500, it's looking a little shaky here, but the trend is still up. The NASDAQ 100 is on the verge of another new all-time high. Same sort of thing as the S&P 500. I still believe the August low is in. This is the low to beat. If we started to see breakdowns from that area across any of the US stock markets, that would be a major cause for concern. But until that time comes, or if ever that time comes in this stage of the cycle, I don't think there's too much to be worried about. The prices just keep trending up. And yes, we will see corrections. And yes, there will 100% guaranteed be another reason, another narrative as to why this time is the time that it needs to collapse. I bring that up from the beginning. I'm just trying to remind ourselves that we hear it all the time, the sell. This is the reason to sell. You've got to sell now because of some other bad thing happening in the world. Just keep following the charts, as simple as it is. Why shouldn't it be simple? Why does it have to be complicated? The Dow Jones, mini Dow here, same sort of thing, similar sort of pattern, new all-time highs as well. Yesterday, not a new all-time high, but you had the new all-time high there on Friday. Trends are still up, and when we take a look at the monthly, trends are obviously still up as well. Big November month. And for the rest of the globe, Australia had to bring this up. New all-time high for us here in Oz. We got that yesterday, and today we're having the pullback back towards that 50% level of the extension. Our friends in Canada have had a new all-time high. Our friends in the UK getting very close to another new all-time high. Big day up yesterday. And our friends in Germany are getting new all-time highs as well. It's got to be very, very clear by now, I hope. Winner's curse phase. Prices go up. No blow-off tops. No yield curve inversions. No yield curve uninversions. No whatever it is. This is the phase, and the governments are doing everything possible to keep this market going up. But, so here is the but part. The corrections I hope that you will understand that they're going to come. And as I said, to try not to repeat myself too much, when they do come, it's going to feel like it's the time. It's the time, it's over, right? Now, the data from this goes back over 200 years for the US. It is the US house prices and the economy. As I've mentioned before on the channel, this basically comes around sort of 18 to 20 years. So we're trying not to get too pretty with saying, oh, well, this time it's going to come earlier. What about, well, you said 2025, it's going to be January and the peak comes in and then we get this correction. Because essentially some of the data that I'm looking at leans towards a correction around January, February time. There's a few other cycles that come through that suggest that maybe there's going to be a pullback around the inauguration in January, the Trump inauguration, and some other timing, some other cycles are lining up for Bitcoin and cryptos as well. But in the short term, the cycles are still up, or the trends are still up, and we're still seeing higher prices. So that leads us over to Bitcoin and cryptos, a reflection on the markets thus far over the last 24 hours, $600 million liquidated. That is higher on the long side. So we're starting to see a little bit of the longs getting crushed here. We're also still seeing extreme greed. So the fear and greed, the market sentiment still looking quite hot here. 78, day before 76. And the sentiment is basing out here. You got 75 and then the day before it's 76, attempting to get back towards that 84 level to put in a higher high for the market sentiment. The reading here for the Google Trends is quite interesting because XRP has dropped off. The yellow line, XRP. The red is crypto and the blue is Bitcoin. And for Bitcoin, it's basically gone into a bit of a trading channel here. So there's search volume, but not as high as it was. And it's sort of reflective on the price chart as well. You can see that there. Everyone's sort of searching for Bitcoin towards the tops. And also when it comes down, people search for it. But when it's in a very tight or boring trading range, not everyone is searching for Bitcoin anymore. However, you are seeing XRP also drop off. There's been a day or so down there, basically a bit of a reversal candle on XRP. And for crypto, you're starting to see it trend up. And we are seeing more altcoins starting to hit fresh highs, fresh cycle highs, and fresh all-time highs, getting close in some cases, as I'll get to in just a moment with the altcoin analysis. The Bitcoin ETF inflows strikes again. We saw that with the tops coming in here, and it's on the 11th, and we also saw it on the 21st, and around those periods, we had the breakout bar, which was a big volume point to get through on the price breakout, but then we also saw it again at the lows. So around the 25th and 26th, that was basically the highest outflows that we had seen since going back to roughly the 14th there. So here they are on the chart. There's the 11th, 12th, 13th, market goes dead, or the price flattens out essentially. Another mini pump up here, and another big ETF flow top. So more money coming in at the peak again. That was another massive day there on the 21st. And what has it done since then? Well, again, the price has basically gone sideways. From that top itself, we're into our 12th day. And from the 21st, we're into our, 13th day. And also the lows line up relatively okay. The smaller, shorter term stuff gets a little bit more nuanced. But if we look towards the larger lows in the game, well, then they become a little bit clearer. Like the biggest outflow day we saw for a while was back on, forever, was May 1st. And that was a very significant low in the Bitcoin move. There's the May low, and you only saw it go below once, twice, 3 times. However, the closes were basically above that low level around 56.5K. So it's still working out to be a pretty good contrarian indicator if you can find a way to get entry signals on the counter trades. Or best case scenario, the easiest thing is just don't go crazy when everyone else is going crazy, whether they're going crazy to the upside, buying in and there, or if they're basically selling out heavily at the lows. It's usually not the greatest thing to do. Basically, this is the herd indicator, and I wouldn't be following the herd indicator along with the trend. It's more of a contrarian thing. Now for the price analysis on BTC. Looking at the short term, before we bring it down to the longer term, you've got the range between 88 and 99. Call it 100K if you will. The 50% level has done pretty magical things so far. You got the 2nd of December holding up, the 3rd of December still holding up, but the trends are down. You got the lower highs forming and the lower lows forming as well. So this kind of leans itself to further downside. The next levels are the support level here at 90,700 and then back to the next swing low at 88,700. Now, if these all happen to break down over this next sort of short-term time period, I'll be looking back towards the larger 50% level here at 83.3. So that's pretty much all within a safe zone if Bitcoin was to pull back. Could go a little further, but then get the closes back above 50%. That's what we're looking for. But nonetheless, it's still in a relatively strong position, albeit quite boring and slow moving at the moment. Now, the time frames that we went through in greater detail in yesterday's video, I think is a pretty important point to look at today because of the halfway point that we're in and the grinding effect that we've seen each of the times where Bitcoin gets to this level, 16 weeks up, and then it was grinding for about 8 to 9 weeks before you saw the move. Then prior to that, you've got roughly 33 weeks, or 30 to 33. And again, in the middle there, you had the pump up at 16 and then basically a grind sideways. Now, there was a lot of emotions involved in that, even though it looks quite small in the chart. You remember back from 2023, the emotions were crazy through all these periods, even though they're very small moves. That's just the way the game goes. And right now, we're seeing something similar. We're into our second week of price trading range. Now, this sort of sideways action is great for altcoins, which I'll get to in just a moment. But I want to just finish up on Bitcoin and this important part about the Elliott wave theory, the cycle that Michael has put together for us, looking at where we are now moving. So the yellow line in the background is wave 5, the big final stage of the overall move. So we're looking at the fifth wave, right? But within that fifth wave, you have the corrections. Now, if we are somewhere coming towards the top of 3 within 5, but the shorter term 3, that has to be met with some sort of correction. And that's your corrective wave. You get 2 of those. You get 1 to 2, so basically the second wave, and you get 3 to 4, the fourth wave. So we are potentially coming to around that timing now where we might see some sort of correction into 4. That doesn't mean the game is over. I've never, ever said that it's over and we're waiting for a big, massive collapse or crash. There are corrections in between, and I stand by that. That's basically what I'm looking for over, say, maybe sometime in December, but I'm thinking more towards the first part of quarter 1 next year in 2025. Could lead to some sort of wave 4, which freaks the hell out of the market, which you'll start to see in the market sentiment. And as we looked at with some of the timing, that could also be part of the next move. But before we get there, we're still seeing higher prices on altcoins, and they're getting towards this tipping point, if you will. We've already covered the $480 billion tipping point. You can see how the market was held down and then burst out of that level. And then on its way through the first tipping point, it got to the $650 billion tipping point. That was your lower swing top, so a critical level, and also the top that it got to in March to put in the that first wave up. So it broke through 650 billion. So bigger cycle here, longer term, I still see prices heading up just according to the trend there on the chart. But within that move up, you will get corrections, and I think we're sort of heading towards one of those right now. And another reason I say that is where we were in the previous cycle. So you got December here. It wasn't a significant correction. January did head up, but then you had some pretty big pullbacks for BTC in that January period, if we take it back to 2021. And then altcoins also had a pullback there. So this is January into late January before the move happened in February. In terms of timing, big moves for the first 3 days of that move. And then it continued on for 14 days. Then you got the higher low forming 19 days, another higher low at 23 days, and then you can start to see that move head back up. It looks similar-ish to what happened to Bitcoin through March into October of this year, but just on a much shorter time frame. So I'm looking at somewhere sort of 2 to 3 weeks in that particular move before it becomes a little bit clearer for the earlier traders and then a little bit clearer for the later traders. It's essentially what happens each time. Now, in terms of price targets here, we're just looking at the extension from low to the high based projected off the low. We've hit the 100% at 800 billion. Next target is around 1 to 1.1 trillion US dollars for the true altcoin market cap. That again is excluding stable coins. The one you see on TradingView at Total 3 includes the stable coins. So you would get a different reading. That is currently at 1.1 trillion with a top at 1.15. Now that's taken out the previous top. So you got a new all-time high there on the altcoin market cap that you get on TradingView at Total 3. But we like to use the true altcoin market cap because it excludes the stable coins and gives us a true reflection of the altcoins. Speaking of which, let's look at the months from the first big peak. So you got the peak here in May and a huge correction. The correction freaked everyone out, myself included. 67% down on the true altcoin market cap. That was around 4 to 5 months away from this particular point. But within that, like you can see here in February, there's still a pullback. So if I drop it down to a weekly chart, looking at the previous cycle, that didn't put another swing in the chart, but there was still a pretty significant drop. And that drop in a percentage, about 30%. That's the overall market cap, which includes the top 10, top 20, which are going to outweigh the bigger losses that you would see on the lower end of the altcoins. You know, stuff under the 200 on coin market cap. So those in between are still pretty scary times for people as the market climbs up to that that first significant peak before the next peak came through. So time-wise, I'm still looking towards the first part of Q1 for the altcoins to just at least have a bit of a cool off. That could come in the form of this, like a week, and then start to grind around for the second week, the third week, fourth week, fifth week. You can see it's an uphill grind, but you're not getting that big pop off. Just enough time for people to get bored with the market, really. And then you see 3 weeks up, correction. Another few weeks up, massive correction from that point. Now over to the altcoins, and the USDT dominance is still holding ground here at 3.9%, yet to break down from the 3.8% where we could see things go crazy. You can see how these things are starting to line up to either get us the breakdown, get everyone excited into that point of the market, and then the timing begins to line up where we see either markets pause or have a significant correction, just depending on how far this move happens. You get a big move, probably going to see some sort of big correction. People taking profits because of the late entrants that are waiting, to get into the markets. But if it's a bit of a grind down, maybe you won't see as big of a correction, and that's where you'll get that the pause again. ETH on the USD chart, attempting to get through 50%. You can see how well this has worked out yet again. This is the monthly here, low to high, projected off the higher low, the major higher low here. November, I was going to say February, November got hit, closed just under it, and now December is attempting to get through that. Similar sort of pattern that we've seen across many altcoins, including, well, Bitcoin's not an altcoin, but we also saw it on Bitcoin, where you're seeing these lows or these highs getting lower and the lows getting higher, and you're starting to get a squeeze of price action. Eventually, especially as we see the overall cycle being up and the bull market being on, I would expect this to shoot to the upside with my next target at 5,300. Yes, it's got to get through the psychological levels of 4,000, the top at 4,100, the old all-time high at 4,900. But overall, over the several weeks to get there, maybe it happens next week, I don't know. But the overall time, I would say 5,300 is the next target, which is a 100% move of this range projected off the low. Now, the exciting part above that level comes out at the 150%. So this is this range from here, now 150%, $6,942. It'd be amazing if it hit dead on $42, because then you guys could go on about 69,420. We'll wait and see. Could be weeks away, but that would be a fantastic meme for ETH to get to. I think it's on the cards there. Let's get to 5,300 first, and then reassess the time and the strength left in ETH to get to that 6,900 as the next target. ETH Bitcoin still on track to give us our altcoin season. Obviously, November held up, and on the shorter term, the weekly still holding. Volume is dropping off a little bit, and on the daily, Volume also is dropping off here with the move to the upside, pretty much just grinding to a halt at the moment. Key level still 0.04 to get above at this stage. Solana's given us a few breakout signals and is again taking a rest at these highs. The beauty about some of these altcoins is they're not seeing the love at the moment. They're not seeing all of that excitement that some of the others like XRP, Algo, HBAR, or the old Dino coins from 2017, they're the ones getting the excitement. But eventually you start to see everything shift back and it will go through the order again, I suspect, where you'll start to see some of the big caps getting touched and then some of the memes again and so on and so forth. So that money, those profits start to cycle back through the other coins. And at the moment, the pattern, at least here for Solana, while this stands, is setting up for another move to the upside. You can see the swings remain intact. You can see the volume dropping off while the market is going down. If you saw the volume increasing, then that can lead to further downside, especially if you saw that in a bear market. You start to see the volume pick up on the way down, more and more people selling. Whereas at the moment, with the lack of selling, you'd suspect that more people are continuing to hold their SOL. There's some profit taking and probably some SOL being bought to then go and trade memes on the DEXs and things like that. And we saw, speaking of DEXs, Jupiter also begin to break some key resistance levels. There's $1.24 on the 50% level and now aiming towards that next top. So these are some of those charts that you can look at to start to ride that trend. Look at the swing lows here on the weekly. Look at the swing highs. Nothing is getting broken to the downside and the trend is becoming a lot clearer. This is the sort of thing that you're waiting for when it comes to altcoins to pop off, just taking out those highs and the lows remaining intact. Next on the list was SUI on the daily chart here. It's pushed again. You had about a 9% move yesterday. The lows are remaining intact. It's above the 50% level. And in terms of that timing again, as I said, for December, into January, into February, I suspect we're going to see something sort of climbing and then maybe that correction. SUI is kind of setting up for that same sort of thing. We might continue to see this grind higher. Look at the timing here. We're at 16 days top to top. And previously we saw top to the breakout point, roughly 24 days. Taking it back, this was all the way to the peak. That was 42 days to that breakout peak. 14 days, 14 days, 12 days. Where are we? Roughly around 16 days. So if this is able to get that grind higher, providing it's not one of these where it just pops and then comes back down, you've probably got a little bit more upside to go here, and that's sort of working out with the timing. We've also seen the correction come into the averages. So SUI average correction in an uptrend. This correction, that's the bear market. That's been all the way down. But these ones here, roughly usually 20 to 25, or can extend out roughly 30 to 35%. So call it 20 to 35%. It's in that target now at a 25% correction and is putting in some higher highs and higher lows. So SUI on track. Super has hit a new cycle high. I was going to say all-time high, but not an all-time high yet. So it's good to see new cycle highs being put in, especially with an older coin that's been around since the last cycle. So that could be telling us that we're going to see some further signs of strength. I would be concerned with $2 and $2.20 as the next potential resistance level, and then also $2.40 being that 50% level. So if I started to see some, I guess, heavy selling, some rejections here, some more volume come into the market and just not able to grind through 240, then I would be quite concerned that this is all happening too soon and we might see further downside. You've got the support back here at $1.60. So anything like that is still applicable, but closes back into this zone here between about 140 and 160. Not a great sign, especially if we've got up that high around 240. For the Bitcoin lovers, you've got Stacks also breaking 50%. It broke out of these tops here. That's at $2, $2.10, and now above the 50% level at $2.45. So good to see some strength coming back into Stacks. The timing aspect here I also like. I am on the USD chart. You can also check out the BTC charts to see any of that strength flowing through. But yeah, top to bottom, I don't know why we mentioned the Bitcoin charts. I'm not even on them at the moment, but we'll get to those. Top to bottom, 18 weeks. Top to bottom, 21 weeks. Bottom to bottom, bottom to top 21 weeks. I think I had a couple more lined up back here. Top to bottom 20 weeks. So what that tells me is be on the lookout for a roughly 5-ish month move, sort of your 18 to 21 week move. What is it going to give you at the end of that time? Small pullback and then another final shoot to the top, or is that the game over? We are currently at the 17th week. Should we go to 18 like it has done a few other times and also 21? That's where I'll be looking out for some sort of pause, some sort of resistance, and see what the market wants to do next. Like I said, it could potentially just take a few weeks to hold out and keep going, or it's the show's over and we come back down a significant percentage. This is all part of that timing that I was talking about earlier, where we're looking towards that sort of first part of quarter one. The timing's working out to that point to give us this little bit more of a grind, and then we'll wait and see. Now, I know already what a lot of people are thinking. They're looking to get out of the market altogether. I don't know if that's definitely not on my plan. It's entirely up to you. I don't want to sort of persuade you any which way. I would just say, watch the charts. If they don't break down past key pivotal, like invalidation levels, then it might be too early. Just looking at the charts, that's all. I don't want to try and influence you anyway, especially if you've got your own plan and it's working for you, go with it. The true altcoin market cap may also give you some insights as to what would be happening in quarter one. So if we start to see it grind through, as I said earlier, with sort of higher grind, you might see another pop off from that point. We are into the bull market phase, or the retail stage of the cycle. And if we continue to break past these tipping points, this one only happens, once every 4 years. You get this break above the top, a big move to the upside. It could look like this. It could look straight up. It could look with smaller climbs to the upside. That's why I come back to the altcoin market cap and the USDT dominance. This can give you a few insights for that particular time in the market, whether we get a correction or a pause. Now we're talking about altcoins, so it's a great segue for our channel sponsors. As I said, they are channel sponsors, but if you're looking for a no KYC exchange, check out Bluffin. Links are in the video description. Plenty of sign-up bonuses here, plus cash back for any of your trading fees. And they've also got plenty of trading competitions going on with other prizes there. But I highly suggest that you have a plan and learn how to trade before you go a little bit crazy on any of these exchanges. It can seem like an absolute easiest time to make money when the markets are going up this high, but it's also just as easy to give it all back. It's all there in the chart for you, straight up, straight down. So make sure you got that plan ready to go for whenever these markets continue to pop off. Thanks again. Subscribe to the channel. I got more for you this week, and I'll see you back here at the next video. Take care and peace out.